The gavel comes down. A silence so oppressive it's as if the air itself is being tried. Before a filled courtroom, the sister wives clan, who were once united by faith, loyalty, and visions of togetherness, now sit fractured, their secrets revealed under the toughest glare of all, the law. Betrayal, heartbreak, and explosive revelations are about to come to light, and nothing will ever be the same again. If you think you know the story of sister wives, hang with me, because what goes down in this courtroom will blow everything you thought you knew out of the water. Courtroom does not reek of justice. It reeks of nerves, of stale coffee, of frayed carpets steeped in decades of secrets. The wood creaks on the benches as curious observers shift, murmuring the names of those who once resided behind reality show cameras but now find themselves sitting behind defense tables. Kody Brown sits rigidly, his hair clasped back, his jaw clenched. His eyes flick to the doors every few seconds as if still waiting for control, but there isn't any here. Not anymore. He plays with a pen, drumming it against the table, but the noise is too loud, too revealing. Across the aisle from him, Christine sits in quiet but unyielding determination, her lawyer whispering something she nods to, barely blinking. Janelle stands behind her, white-faced, her pile of papers that she keeps patting into place, as if neatness on the table would equate to neatness in her own life. And then Robyn, shaking, holding tissues in both hands, muttering prayers sotto voce. Her tears are silent and evident, trailing mascara in smudgy lines that reflect her shattered spirit. Meri, however, is more difficult to interpret. Arms folded, face pinched, she resembles a statue of stone more than a woman whose existence is about to be picked apart. The judge enters. Turn measured, each step ringing out. The bailiff calls for order. The buzz of conversation is replaced by a hard, stinging silence. This is no longer television. There are no cuts, no edits. Only brutal truth. The opening remarks start. Christine's lawyer stands first, voice steady but sharpened with an edge of fire. Your Honor, today we bring before you not merely a case of failed promises but of shattered lives, of manipulation, of betrayal so profound that it cries out for justice, even when justice seems impossible. Kody squirms uncomfortably. His attorney, younger, urbane, grins awkwardly, attempting to slice tension. But the words bite home. All the jurors stare at Christine. She doesn't utter a word, yet her presence shouts louder than words. Kody's lawyer responds, smooth and calm, portraying Kody as a man misunderstood. The truth, members of the jury, is simpler. This is a family situation that got out of hand due to television celebrity. My client, Mr. Brown, merely tried to love, protect, and provide. The charges you're going to hear are distortions, motivated by resentment. Pauses allows silence to accumulate. This is not betrayal. This is heartbreak being used as a weapon. Robyn erupts in new tears, covering her face. Christine shuts her eyes, holding on. Janelle's lips purse, concealing something unspoken. The first witness. It's Christine. She rises, slow but determined, making her way to the stand. Each step is burdensome, but she raises her chin. She takes the oath, her tone low but even. The attorney starts with gentle questions, establishing the backdrop. Her life with Kody. The origins. Promise of family harmony. And then the cracks. He vowed equality. But what we received was favoritism, deceit, and silence when we required strength. Her voice trembles, only once, before she hardens herself. Her gaze falls squarely on Robyn. The day he chose her was the day he left us behind. Gasps echo through the room. Robyn cries harder, her head shaking. Kody elbows forward, muttering angrily to his attorney, who silences him. The judge slams the gavel once, brisk, decisive. Christine doesn't blink. We were instructed to smile for photo ops, but behind closed doors, suffering. We lived a lie. The lawyer continues to press, producing texts, emails, tiny scribbled notes that leave a trail of favoritism, of loneliness, of promises broken behind the bright lights of TV cameras. Christine's voice breaks but never does fully. She needs this truth to be heard. And as she exits the witness stand, not looking at Kody, something unsaid moves. The tide changes. The family's tightly knit fabric is being picked apart thread by thread. The judge declares a recess. A hum of murmurs arises like buzzing bees. Robyn grips Kody's arm, whispering wildly as Christine and Janelle exchange a glance, solemn, determined, like women who finally opted for truth over fear. Courtroom is emptied out at last, but tension remains, thicker than before. And when the doors close, one thing is clear. This isn't just about property or custody or divorce. This is about power, about betrayal, about the truth that was always hiding beneath the surface. The court resumes from recess, and the atmosphere within has changed. It's no longer a trial, but it's almost a reckoning, the kind of tempest that has been simmering for years to burst forth. And now each face in the room is tensed for collision. Each chair creaks beneath the pressure of anticipation, and each intake of breath appears to hold history. Christine's testimony lingers, but now it is Janelle who stands up, papers tightly troubadoured in her hand, her knuckles white as though holding more than evidence, holding years of silenced rage, unvoiced truth, the hurt of a woman who once trusted a dream that became a prison. She strides to the witness stand, her gait firm but slower than it looks, and sits as if she has been without breath for a lifetime, exhaling. The oath is taken, her words gentle but shuddering at the perimeter as she promises to speak the truth. And for one instant the courtroom seems to incline forward, as if every juror, every journalist, every onlooker is drawn toward the seriousness of what she may bring forward. The lawyer does not delay. "Mrs. Brown," he starts kindly, "can you describe to us what life was like in the home once Robyn became part of the picture?" Janelle's lips part, her eyes flicker to Kody for just a second, and then she answers, her tone low but steady. "It was like watching the air get sucked out of a room you'd lived in your whole life." The words cut deep, and Robyn flinches visibly, clutching tissues tighter, while Kody shakes his head, mouthing silent denials that fool no one. Janelle goes on, her voice increasing in strength. "We were led to believe this family was about equality, unity, and sharing a life together, but what we experienced was favoritism, secrets, and punishment for anyone who questioned it. We weren't wives, we were shadows." The lawyer inches closer, asking her to continue, and Janelle's voice shatters a little, though her eyes burn with the brimstone of long-held truth. She speaks of missed birthdays, holiday seasons spent in resentment, and subdued evening meals where there was no longer laughter but an unspoken understanding that Robyn and the children were always considered first. "We pleaded with him to be there, to notice us, to treat us as equals, but he chose her. Always hers." The words spill like poison, but they are not intended to hurt. They are intended to purify, to flame off the pretense. Kody sits forward, his body tensed as if he might spring from his seat, growling softly at his lawyer, who pushes him back, cautioning him with a hard hand on his shoulder. The judge's gavel bangs once to keep things in line, but tension cannot be ordered into submission. It throbs, pulsates, sticking to the walls. Christine looks toward Janelle, her eyes shining, the connection seen now, wrought in suffering shared. Meri sits tight-lipped, but her jaw clenches at every word, her silence crying out more loudly than any witness. The defense lawyer stands for cross-examination, his voice crisp, accusatory. "Mrs. Brown, isn't it true that you agreed to this lifestyle? That you entered willingly, knowing what it entailed?" Question is meant to disarm, but Janelle does not flinch. Her voice sharpens like glass. "I agreed to unity, not betrayal. I agreed to family, not abandonment. Don't you twist my religion into a justification for his deception." Crowd gasps, shaking heads, others writing frantically in notebooks. The judge admonishes the crowd once more to remain silent, but the moment is gone and its impact has been made. The dynamics have changed. The women are not pieces of Kody's narrative, they are storytellers. Robyn jumps up suddenly, can't remain seated, tears streaming down her face as she cries out, "That's not true! He never left you, he tried so hard." Her voice breaks, raw and supplicating, but the judge bangs the gavel, commanding order, instructing her to sit. Courtroom erupts into chaos for a few seconds. Protestations by lawyers, murmurs of the audience, the bailiff stepping forward to restore order. but then silence falls again, deeper than before. Robyn sits, weeping into her hands, Janelle calm as ever, her gaze fixed on the judge, refusing to be intimidated. The attorney finishes his last question. "Mrs. Brown, what is it you want from this court today?" And Janelle's response arrives, unambiguous, unshakable. "I want the truth acknowledged. I want us to stop pretending. I want freedom from the lie." The words resonate, rebound from the wood-paneled walls, and for an instant it seems the courtroom itself breathes with her. The lawyer thanks her and she descends, passing by Kody without a look, her dignity intact, her truth now on the record. Kody's face is red with rage, veins standing at his temple. His lawyer speaking frantically to try to calm him down, but his poise is lost, replaced by a man disintegrating under the crush of exposure. Robyn holds on to him, weeping, her tears dampening his sleeve, murmuring, "They're wrong, they're all wrong," but her words just appear to make him smaller, cornered. The judge requests the next witness, and to everyone's surprise, it isn't Meri. It is an accountant subpoenaed to uncover records, bank statements, transfers, secret accounts. Courtroom shifts uncomfortably as binders are put on the evidence table, numbers underlined, transactions circled. Christine and Janelle look forward, jaws clenched, recognizing the evidence of what they long to suspect. Kody goes pale, his attorney protesting, invoking irrelevance, but the judge rules otherwise. The expert starts smoothly, detailing step by step how money was laundered, how family resources were distributed unevenly, how one wife, always the same one, got more. Gasps once more, whispers flying like sparks in dry grass. The jurors look at each other, faces set, the burden of evidence bearing down on them. The lawyer poses one last question. "In your expert opinion, was favoritism shown in the division of resources?" The expert does not hesitate, yes. Significant favoritism. Robyn hides her face in her hands. Christine holds Janelle's hand under the table. Meri sits rigidly forward, unblinking, but her eyes sparkle at the edges. Kody bangs his fist softly onto the table, anger emanating from him, but he can't erase the figures glowering back at him in black and white. The judge calls for another brief recess, and when the families stand, the air is charged, volatile, each glance heavy with history and treachery. Kody charges down the hallway with his attorney, Robyn bringing up the rear while Christine and Janelle sit still, their hands clasped together, their quiet more eloquent than words. Meri finally breathes out, nearly a whisper but loud enough for those around her. "It was always true." Heads swivel, eyes expand, and although she doesn't speak more, those 3 words linger in the air like a spectral admission, a nod that even the quiet ones hold weighty secrets. The bailiff calls the recess, doors open and people exit, and still no one gets the sense that they are leaving something behind. Everything accompanies them, the burden of testimony, the sting of evidence, the pain of betrayal. And as the imagination's camera pauses on that massive wooden door slamming shut again, it is obvious that the tempest is far from being over. It is merely building up strength, anticipating its most ferocious blow. The doors to the courtroom open again, and when the families come back, the quiet is different. It's the quiet just before an explosion, the stillness of a storm ready to rip everything apart, and everybody in there knows it, senses it deep within their bones. Even the audience who showed up for scandals are now paralyzed, waiting, silent. The judge sits down and in a voice that is darker than ever before, calls the next witness, and when she is named, the whole courtroom stirs, because it's Meri. The one who had been quiet, the one who had always appeared to dance on the threshold of loyalty and loneliness, the wife who had covered her pain in armor but never let the world see her bleed. She stands up slowly, her heels on the floor echoing out louder than they should, and as she walks to the stand, Kody leans forward, eyes open wide, his lips opening to form words that no one can hear but everyone can sense. "Don't." She doesn't glance his way, doesn't falter, and when she raises her hand to take the oath in, her voice is low but unshakable, the kind of unshakable that comes from years of trembling within. She sits, hands folded neatly, and waits, her eyes darting over momentarily to Christine and Janelle, but not in solidarity, distance, as if she is still weighing which truth she is a part of. The lawyer approaches slowly, carefully. "Mrs. Brown, tell me about your experience during this marriage, particularly the years leading up to the case." She remains silent for a moment, the silence hanging between them like a stretched rope, The whole courtroom suspended from it, and then, quietly but with steel beneath, she starts, "I gave it all. I gave my loyalty, my silence, my dignity. I believed if I remained, if I held on, I could keep the family together. But what I didn't notice was that the family was already lost, already shattered, and I was holding together nothing but dust." A shudder occurs throughout the room, and Robyn gasps softly, her hand covering her mouth, while Kody shakes his head with intensity, whispering once more, "That's not true, you know that's not true." But Meri goes on speaking, her eyes never crossing his. She talks of lonely nights, of birthdays with no one present, of forgotten anniversaries, of being treated like furniture, standing there constantly yet never really seen. The lawyer presses gingerly, "Mrs. Brown, why didn't you escape earlier?" Her gaze drifts downward, her voice shaking now for the first time. "Because I trusted him. Because he said I was loved, even when his behavior said otherwise. Because I was afraid that if I left, I'd have nothing. And the truth is, I already had nothing." The words hang in the air like a confession, and for a moment no one breathes. Christine's eyes are brimming with tears, Janelle averts her gaze, her jaw clenched. Robyn bursts into tears once more, holding onto Kody's arm, but he doesn't comfort her. He can't tear his gaze away from Meri, his features a blend of fury and desperation. The defense attorney jumps to his feet, objecting, claiming this is emotional manipulation, but the judge rules over him, coldly stating, "Sometimes the truth is emotional, counselor." "Go on." Meri breathes in sharply and then stares at Kody straight on for the first time, her eyes cutting and unblinking. "You broke us. Not only the family, not only the marriage, you broke me. And I let you do it because I did not want to know the truth. But now I do." Kody is shaking his head wildly, his attorney speaking urgently in his ear, but the fissures show now, the veneer is shattering. The attorney queries Meri about whether she saw financial favoritism, and she nods, detailing how things were decided in the back rooms, how money flowed one direction, how promises of fairness never came to pass. Every sentence hits like a hammer to the chest of Kody, and the jury listens intently, their pens writing harder across their notepads. And then the pivot, the question that cuts closer to the heart than finances or favoritism. "Mrs. Brown, did Mr. Brown ever play games with your emotions that damaged your mental well-being?" The courtroom tenses, the question dropping like a grenade, and for a second or two it appears Meri won't respond. Her lips quiver, her eyes flash with a tempest of recollections, and then she nods slowly, agonizedly. "Yes. He made me believe my value rested on remaining. That my silence was love. That my isolation was my doing. He made me believe that if I went, I would ruin the family when in reality it already was." The audience grumbles loudly now, the judge slamming down his gavel, calling for quiet, but the harm is done. The truth is out there, raw and unvarnished. Kody finally erupts, slapping his hand on the table, shouting, "That is not true! I never played you, I loved all of you." His attorney pulls him back down, hissing to himself to keep himself under control, but the explosion is already seared into the mind of the jury. Robyn sobs louder, grabbing him, whispering, "Stop, please stop," but he is unable to hold himself in check, the empire he himself created on his own story now disintegrating before his eyes. The lawyer lets the moment hang before thanking Meri, allowing her last words to hang in the air like smoke on the heels of flame. She descends, her shoulders straight, her head held high, no longer that invisible wife in the shadows but a woman who just ripped the veil open. Courtroom is charged with tension, reporters writing, jurors muttering to themselves, witnesses wide-eyed, and Kody slumped over, hands trembling, face a picture of anger and shame. The judge demands the next witness, and the room freezes once more, all eyes upon them, waiting. The name announced takes them all by surprise. No other wife, no money man, but one of the older kids subpoenaed to the stand. Gasps spread, murmurs swell, because nobody has anticipated that the children would come forward to testify, not here, not now. Kody's face goes pale, lips opening wide in shocked protest, his lawyer quickly standing up to object, saying it's not necessary, it's not fair, but the judge rules him down, stern and absolute. The child is legally a man, an adult, and has pertinent testimony. The objection is overruled. The air is charged, the tension more than one can bear as the child, now an adult but burdened with memories, is invited to approach, eyes scanning the room, pausing for an instant on their father before resting on the stand. They take the oath, voice firm and answering the first question. Can you describe your experience growing up in the Brown household? The courtroom holds its very breath. The atmosphere in the courtroom is heavy, almost claustrophobic, as the adult child sits down in the witness box, his eyes scanning the room with a nervous tick, catching for one moment on his father before flashing away, as though the burden of that look is too great to bear. They take the oath, their voice firm but soft, and the lawyer advances, speaking softly, knowing that what he is about to ask may rip through this courtroom like fire. Can you describe, he says quietly, what it was like to be raised in the Brown family? For a moment the silence tacks on, the jurors leaning forward, the gallery stilled, and then the child takes a deep breath, their voice shaking at first but growing stronger with each sentence. It was chaos. It was faking being happy for the cameras when behind closed doors we were breaking apart. It was hearing my mom cry at night by herself and being told not to speak. It was listening to arguments through thin walls, listening to dad vow one thing to one wife and another to the other, and knowing none of it was true. A gasp runs through the gallery. Robyn shakes her head wildly, muttering, "That's not true," as Kody's face goes white, his jaw setting, his fingers thumping angrily against the table. The lawyer leans in closer, his voice patient, guarded. Can you describe to the court what your relationship was with your father? The child gulps, their hands nodding in their lap. He was present when the cameras were rolling. He laughed, he smiled, he acted. But when they went away, he was gone. He wasn't there for the school plays, the graduations, the birthdays that weren't Robyn's kids. He played favorites. We all knew it. We acted like we didn't, but we knew. Christine's lips compress, struggling not to cry. Janelle looks down at the table and shakes slightly with her hands. Meri sits stiff, her eyes fixed on the child as if she can see her own hurt reflected in the child. The lawyer speaks cautiously. Did your father ever make you feel less important? The kid's eyes well up with tears now, her voice trembling. He made me feel invisible. Unless the cameras were there, unless he needed to prove something to someone, I was invisible. I would stand by the window waiting for him to return home, and 9 times out of 10, he didn't. The gallery shuffles uncomfortably, sniffles heard, some of the jurors avoiding eye contact, others staring at Kody in a mixture of shock and judgment. Kody's attorney stands up hastily, protesting that this is hearsay, but the judge rules again, resolute. This is lived experience, counselor. It will stay in the record. Kody grumbles under his breath, violently shaking his head, mouthing the words, lies. All lies, but now the cracks in his persona are wide crevices. The lawyer leans in closer, speaking softly. Can you explain to us the day that you knew the family was no longer a family? The tears of the child finally come, their voice cracking. It was Christmas. He didn't arrive. We just sat, waiting, the tree illuminated, the presents all wrapped up, Mom attempting to make it all right, but he didn't appear. We later discovered he was at Robyn's. That was the point. That's when I realized we weren't a family, we were set dressing. Gasps once more, Robyn crying harder now, holding tissues as Kody holds his temples, rocking back and forth, his face twisted up in pain or fury, it's difficult to say. Cross-examination starts, Kody's attorney advancing, attempting to mollify his voice, attempting to recover ground. You adore your father, don't you? The child struggles to answer, their lips quivering, and finally, in a barely audible whisper, says, I loved who I thought he was. The courtroom goes silent once more, a silence so dense it seems timeless, until the lawyer urges, And isn't it true that your father took care of you, gave you money, kept you safe? The child shakes her head, angry now. He provided for the cameras. He gave when it benefited him. But safety doesn't cost anything. It's being there, being present, and he wasn't. The defense attorney stutters, stammering, grasping for another tack, but the harm is done. The juror's face is already smeared with the ugliness of fact. Christine brushes away a tear from her face. Janelle clutches the table's edge, and Meri breathes slowly, pale, as if hearing the child speak has confirmed all the quiet fears she lived behind a silent mask. Robyn covers her face, shaking it, mumbling prayers under her breath, and Kody sits stiff, his eyes red, his lips set into a thin line, rage and shame warring within him. The judge demands order as whispers spread wildly through the courtroom, the press writing furiously, the news already breaking out into the world outside these four walls. The lawyer thanks the child, who slowly descends, head hung low but with the pride of one who has finally said what needed to be said. When they walk past Kody, they don't glance at him, don't even hesitate, keep going, and that lack of recognition wounds more than any witness stand would. Kody slams his fist gently on the table, leaning back in his chair, muttering to his attorney, his entire body shaking in anger, but the tide has turned forever. The judge calls the next witness, but before anyone can move, Robyn suddenly rises, shaking, her voice trembling. "Your Honor, please, please let me speak. Please." Her lawyer tugs her arm, hissing to be seated, but she struggles free, her face smeared with tears, her voice hoarse. "They're turning him into a monster, but he's not, he's the man I love. He's the man who kept this family together when everybody else against him turned." The courtroom explodes into murmurs, the judge banging the gavel, commanding silence, warning her that she has to comply with procedure, but Robyn goes on, her words pouring out uncontrolled. "Yes, he made mistakes, yes, he failed them, but he tried to be all things to all people, and none of you know what that's like." Her screams ring out, raw, begging, as Christine slowly shakes her head, silently streaming tears. Janelle closes her eyes, fatigued by the display, and Meri turns her face away, unreadable. Kody gazes at Robyn with desperation, holding onto her hand, but harm is done. The courtroom witnesses not loyalty but desperation, not devotion but terror. The judge demands Robyn sit, threatens to have the courtroom cleared if order is not maintained, and then at last silence does return, but it's tenuous, delicate, like a glass hovering on the verge of shattering. The lawyer is about to call the next official witness when Robyn's drama hangs over the air, infecting the air, with each beat of the heart seeming magnified. Kody leans over toward his attorney, yelling in a furious whisper, sweat dripping on his forehead, his eyes flashing toward the jury as he realizes too late that the picture he once had command of has now escaped entirely from his control. Undefined. The judge gestures for the bailiff to bring the next witness. A friend of the family, somebody who lived next door to the Browns for years, someone who witnessed things the cameras never did. The gallery growls louder, the tension thick, as a figure stands up at the back and starts walking down, her footsteps deliberate, her face stern. Undefined. Kody tenses, his face going white, muttering fiercely to his lawyer. Not them, but it's too late. Undefined. The witness sits down, swears to tell the truth, and looks straight at Kody with a look that can be best described as betrayal crossed with determination. The lawyer inches closer, his tone low but measured. "Please tell the court what you observed during your period of association with the Brown family?" The witness slowly nods, never once taking her eyes off Kody, and as her mouth opens to speak, tension snaps to the breaking point, the gallery leaning forward, the jury holding on to their pens, all of them waiting for the words that could decide the course of this whole case. The family friend gets comfortable in the witness chair, their face creased with the weight of years of secrets kept too long, and when the attorney asks them to recount what they witnessed behind closed doors in the Brown family, their voice slices through the courtroom like a knife, firm, icy, and merciless. "I saw control, I saw manipulation, I saw a man who wanted to be worshipped more than he wanted to be loved." A collective gasp travels through the room. Christine's face is a twisted study of pain, as if someone has validated all private doubts she held. Janelle regards the witness with a mixture of relief and sadness, while Meri clutches the arm of her seat, her jaw shaking, trying to remain calm. Robyn shakes her head frantically, whispering, "No, no, no," as if denying the words will make them disappear, but the friend goes on. "He used religion when it was convenient to him, money when it wasn't, and guilt when all else failed. He manipulated his wives, he manipulated his children, and he grinned for the camera so the world would never know the truth." The jury moves, writing frantically, their faces setting, the weight of the testimony inescapable. Undefined. Kody erupts, forward, pounding on the table. "That's a lie, Undefined, you were not at my house, you don't know what you're talking about." The judge slams the gavel down, yelling, "Mr. Undefined Brown, rein in yourself, Undefined," but Kody is quivering with rage, shaking his finger at the witness, his voice increasing in pitch. "You're bitter, you're jealous, you've always despised me because I made something you could not." His attorney pulls frantically at his arm, urging him to sit, but the damage is already seeping into the light. the courtroom observing not only a man on trial, but a man disintegrating. Base name. The witness does not blink, their voice even icier. I didn't hate you, Kody. I pitied the people who loved you. Christine's lips tremble, Janelle looks down to hide the tears slipping down her cheeks, and Meri's breathing quickens, her composure cracking. Robyn, frantic now, clutches at Kody's arm, whispering frantically, "Stop, please stop, you're making it worse." But Kody jerks his arm free, glaring at her with the same venom he aimed at the witness, and in that single look the room understands. His fury has no loyalty, no safe target. The lawyer leans forward once more, insistent. Can you describe certain times you saw, certain times which may reveal to the court the truth about Mr. Brown's character? The friend nods curtly, their eyes squeezing shut as if reliving terrors they'd rather not recall. There were nights Christine called me, crying so hard she couldn't get words out. There were times Janelle told me she felt like a stranger in her own house. There were murmurs from the children, murmurs of favoritism, of punishments that were not physical but stabbed even deeper, words, neglect, being told they weren't enough. And I stood there and watched Meri. I watched her fade, bit by bit, until there was hardly anything of her left. Meri gasps in outrage, her face contorted with feeling, and for the first time she covers her face, unable to suppress the tearless sobs that rack her shoulders. The gallery whispers more loudly, the judge thumping the gavel again, but the words resound heavy, unescapable, impossible to stifle. The cross-examination gets underway, Kody's attorney standing rigid, attempting to shatter the credibility of the witness, his tone cutting. Isn't it a fact you've always had problems with Mr. Brown? Isn't it a fact you've nursed grudges against him for years? The witness glares at him, unflinching. I kept quiet for years because I hoped perhaps, just perhaps, the family would make it through. But I can't see them bleed anymore. The lawyer pokes further. So this is personal, isn't it? This isn't about truth, this is about your bitterness. The witness leans forward, voice low but deadly. The only thing personal in this entire situation is the fact that I saw people I care for be hurt while you people sat by and let him smile to the world. The jury huddles in closer, the strength of the testimony unbreakable, as Kody slams back into his seat, cursing in a low voice, his fists growing so tight his knuckles go white. Christine finally speaks, her voice cracking, standing up from her seat as though she cannot remain silent anymore. This is not bitterness, this is truth, and you know it, Kody! The judge barks, ordering her to sit down, threatening to hold her in contempt, but her words have already cracked the atmosphere even more, the chaos nigh impossible to contain. Robyn grips her head, muttering prayers, crying horribly, the whole of her body shuddering as if her universe were imploding. Janelle remains frozen, unspoken tears streaming unchecked, her face white, breathing shallow. Meri looks up at last, her red and raw-featured face streaming from crying, whispering in a voice barely audible, "He took everything from me," though her mic picks up the words, booming into the shocked courtroom. The judge insists on order, threatens to clear the courtroom, but the dynamo cannot be contained. This family is self-destructing before the world. Kody's attorney pleads for a recess, but the judge refuses, his voice clipped. This case is not a stage for acting, but the truth will be told. Kody leaps to his feet, his voice thundering, "Truth? This is merely a witch hunt. They want to kill me because they couldn't cope with what it was like to be in an actual marriage, a spiritual marriage." His voice rings out, desperate, defiant, but his voice breaks halfway through, showing fear behind the anger. Christine wails, "No, Kody, we wanted love, not domination." The courtroom bursts out again, the gavel banging so hard it sounds like a gun going off, but the energy cannot be contained. The judge finally commands silence again, his voice thundering. "If anyone says anything out of turn again, I will hold them in contempt and clear this courtroom." Gradually, unsteadily, the silence falls again, although the tension is so palpable it is almost as if it is combustible. The witness, still in place, eventually glances away, their testimony over, their face one of weariness, as if letting years' secrets out of him has sapped the life from his body. The lawyer thanks them and they exit, passing Kody with a look that is final, condemnatory. Kody refuses to look up at them, keeping his eyes fixed straight ahead, his chest heaving in and out, sweat dripping from his face. The next witness is called, a financial advisor hired to go through the Brown family accounts. The gallery whispers once more, sensing the trial is going to turn even darker. Not only emotional scars, but fiscal fraud, money trails that can lay bare greed at its worst. Kody tenses once more, his attorney mouthing, "Calm down, let me do this." But his hands continue shaking, his eyes glancing at the jury, already picking up their widening repugnance. The financial expert takes the stand, swears in, and begins laying out records, bank statements, withdrawals, payments, all tied back to Kody, all tied back to decisions that favored one family over another, Robyn's household over Christine's, over Janelle's, over Meri's. The jury scowls deeper with each page. Christine gasps quietly, seeing her own sacrifices in stark black and white statistics. Janelle's lips purse, anger quivering on the edge of eruption, and Meri sits blankly as if she's past being shocked, numb to the evidence of betrayal she always knew. Robyn dissolves into tears again, her face pressed against her hands, but Kody bangs his hand on the table, shouting, "That's not stealing! That's support. I supported the most needy wife." His attorney pleads with him to remain silent, but Kody won't be stopped now, his voice trembling, his whole body shaking in anger and fear. "They don't get it. None of you get what it takes to lead, to bear what I bore." The judge bangs the gavel, warning of contempt once more, but words have already tainted the air, the jury observing not a leader but a man losing himself. The lawyer takes a step forward, voice icy, measured. "Mr. Brown, would you care to tell me why these funds, taken in your name, were deposited into an account none of us knew existed?" The gallery gasps, Christine covering her mouth, Janelle stiffening, Meri blinking in stunned silence, and Robyn staring at Kody in horror. Kody's face loses color, his mouth open but nothing else emerging, his body locked up, sweat running down his temple. The attorney raises the document higher, the courtroom abuzz, the tension suffocating. "Well, Mr. Brown? Would you like to tell this court where that money ended up?" The finance expert clears his throat, sweeping the courtroom with a glance before focusing on the jury, and in a measured but intense voice states, "This isn't about favoritism or unequal distribution. What we've uncovered suggests deliberate concealment, hidden accounts, secret withdrawals, and financial movements that cannot be explained by family expenses alone." The room freezes, Christine gasps audibly, Janelle stiffens with rage, Meri's eyes widen in disbelief, and Robyn clutches her chest as if she can't breathe. Kody's lawyer leaps to his feet, objecting loudly, shouting about speculation and irrelevance, but the judge waves him down, his gavel slamming, "Overruled!" "The court shall hear this testimony." Great, the expert starts unfolding paper after paper, all of them cast onto the courtroom screen, each page a blow to the coffin of Kody's financial integrity. The gallery audience leans in, whispers crackle like hornets, reporters writing as if history itself is being written out before them. Christine's tears stream silently, her face contorted in rage as she perceives evidence of sacrifices she made so that Robyn's family might prosper. Evidence that her monetary difficulties were not coincidences but deliberate choices. Janelle grumbles under her breath, her fists tightening as she shakes her head in disbelief. "I knew it, I knew he was lying to me." Meri sits stiff, her hands clasped in her lap, her whole body quaking but her face unyielding, her silence shouting above words. Robyn's weeping devolves into hysterics, mumbling, "No, no, it isn't true, tell them it isn't true," holding on to Kody's arm like a lifeline, but Kody tugs his arm away, streams of sweat running down his temples, his eyes racing frantically like a cornered animal. The lawyer strides towards the witness stand, tone crisp. "Please tell the jury about what you call concealment." The expert smiles, turning another page. "In a 5-year period, Mr. Brown transferred more than $200,000 to an account held in the name of an alias, one that we traced directly back to him. These transfers were not disclosed to his wives, nor were they used for family expenses." Gasps erupt, Christine covers her mouth, Meri leans forward, whispering, "200,000? Janelle's face flushes red, and Robyn shakes her head violently, screaming, "That's not true! He would never do that." But the expert holds firm. The account was spent on luxury items, travel, personal expenses, even gifts for people beyond the family. None of these are accountable as legitimate home expenses. Courtroom erupts into stunned silence, the words hanging like smoke, strangling all present. Kody springs to his feet, his voice booming. "You're taking it out of context. Those were investments. Business ventures. You don't know the pressure I was under. His lawyer pulls at him frantically, begging him to sit, but Kody is disintegrating. His calm shattered, his cover blown, his voice breaking with desperation. Christine jumps up, shaking but steady, gesturing at Kody. Investments? I begged you for grocery money, and you said we had nothing to give. Her voice catches on sobs, the courtroom ringing with her distress, the jury visibly upset. Janelle bangs her hand on the table, her own voice trembling with anger. I worked 2 jobs to keep things going, Kody. 2 jobs while you stashed money. Sobs streamed down her face, her voice increasing louder with each sentence. I thought I was supporting this family. You made me give up everything while you enjoyed secret accounts. Meri's whisper slices through, gentle but lethal. I sacrificed who I was for you, and you were living a second life behind our backs. Robyn screams once more, her weeping harsh. Stop it, he did it for us. He did it to protect us. She stares at Kody with desperation, pleading for him to tell her it is true, but Kody's eyes are glassy, his mouth open and shut, no words spilling out. The jury leans in, disgust and sympathy mingling on their faces, as the judge's face grows harder, seeing the implosion happening before him. The expert delivers the final blow, voice steady as a blade. The documents show transfers not just for personal luxury, but payments to an individual outside the family, a woman's name repeated across years. Courtroom detonates, shouts, gasps, whispers filling the air, Christine clutching her chest, Janelle staring in shock, Meri's face pale as death, and Robyn looking at Kody with horror as if the floor beneath her has vanished. Kody yells, his voice breaking. That's not what it looks like. That's not what it was. But the lawyer thunders forward, booming. Then tell us what it was, Mr. Brown. Who is this woman, and why did she get tens of thousands of dollars from your clandestine account? Kody shakes his head wildly, his hair plastered to his forehead slick with sweat, his words spilling out incoherently. It's not like that, it wasn't, she needed help. The lawyer leans in harder, his voice pushing. Help? Or was she the one you really cared about while your wives went hungry for morsels of your attention and assets? The jury hums louder, their pens darting, their faces lean with judgment, and the gallery is mayhem, some screaming, some crying, the gravity of the scandal overwhelming. Christine bursts into tears, collapsing onto her chair, sobbing helplessly, her voice muffled. All those years, I thought it was me, I thought I wasn't enough. Janelle stood immobile, her face impassive but her body shaking, the rage so intense she can hardly find her voice. Meri slowly shakes her head, whispering, It wasn't us. It was never us. Robyn, still holding onto Kody's arm, stares at him with her wide, tear-brimmed eyes, whispering wildly, Tell them it's not true, tell them she means nothing, please. But Kody can't reply, his lips shaking, his silence a louder confession. The judge bashes the gavel repeatedly, calling for order, but the commotion won't subside, the air heavy with betrayal and incredulity. The lawyer, feeling the kill, utters the question that fills the room with quiet, his voice low and lethal. Mr. Brown, were you financing an illicit relationship? The words hang like a blade above Kody's head, the courtroom paralyzed, the wives frozen in horror, the jury leaning forward, every breath caught in suspense. Kody opens his mouth, a sound escaping, a broken, half-formed word, but before he can answer, the judge calls for an immediate recess, slamming the gavel with finality. This court will reconvene in 1 hour. The room bursts into chaos, reporters scrambling for the exit, gallery members yelling, Christine crumpling into Janelle's arms, Robyn continuing to yell at Kody to speak, and Meri exiting deliberately, her face vacant, her heart broken. The recess is over, and when the court resumes, the atmosphere is thick, nearly unbreathable, as if each individual present is entering a tempest from which no one will emerge intact. The judge shouts to order the courtroom, his gaze sweeping across the faces of the wives who now sit like phantoms of themselves, exhausted but seething with feelings too large for expression. The attorney calls for the next step. The wives will testify on the stand, each stating their testimony, each speaking the truth as they know it. The jury lean forward, pens ready, eyes open wide, waiting for impact. The Christine is called first, and as she stands, her body trembles, yet her eyes are intense, her steps slow and determined as she walks to the stand. She takes the oath, her voice but a whisper, and as she speaks, the room is silent. For years, I believed it was me. I believed I wasn't good enough. I believed if I prayed harder, worked harder, was quieter, perhaps he would notice me. Perhaps he'd love me like he said he would. Her voice breaks, each word tearing out of her as she gasps for air, yet she continues. But it never was me. Undefined, it was him. Undefined, it was always him. He instructed me that love was conditional, that I was valuable based on obedience, and that my children would pay the price if I didn't obey. Undefined, he corrupted my faith into chains. Her tears freely flow down her face, Christine's anguish wetting the air, and the jury clearly is emotional, one juror wiping tears from their own face. Kody glares at her, his jaw clenched, eyes narrowing, but says nothing, his silence only serving to increase the power of her words. Undefined, Christine goes on. He made me feel invisible as he paraded love for others before me. Undefined. He spoke to me about sacrifice being holy as he lived in comfort I could never reach. And when I pleaded for assistance, he instructed me to have more faith, as if faith could stuff empty pockets or repair shattered hearts. The lawyer advances, his tone gentle. Christine, what is it that you want this court to understand about Mr. Brown? Undefined, Christine fixes her gaze on the jury, shaking but strong. That he shattered us. Undefined, that he shattered me. And that no amount of charm or scripture can wash away the fact of what he did. The room is quiet, but the quiet itself screams, every heart racing. Meri, the lawyer thanks her, and Christine exits, her body quivering but eyes blazing with renewed strength, and the room is forever changed by her truth. Meri, then Janelle gets called, her face pale but her jaw clenched in determination. She approaches the stand with the heavy, burdened gait of a woman carrying decades of it, and when she takes the oath, her voice is firm, loud, almost combative. I worked, I sacrificed, I gave everything I had to keep this family upright. I believed in him, I believed in the dream he sold us, that we were creating something than ourselves. But the reality was, I built while he destroyed us. Her tone is biting, every word dripping with the anger she had suppressed for so long. I saw him lavish one wife with everything, the rest of us scrapping over leftovers. Undefined, I did jobs that kept me away from my kids so he could relax and smile at cameras. I thought I was keeping the family together, but I realize now I kept us going while he plundered from us. Her voice crescendos, her hands clenched on the railing of the witness stand. I lost years of my life on his lies. Undefined, I lost fragments of myself to his manipulation. Undefined. And for what? Undefined, for him to conceal money, to conceal love, to conceal the truth? The jury leans forward, visibly disturbed, one juror whispering to another. Writing faster than ever. Undefined, Janelle gazes at Kody straight on, her voice shaking with rage. You said I wasn't enough, but you were the one who was never enough. Not as a husband, not as a father, not as a man. Her words shake the room with raw power, and Kody fidgets in his chair, his fists curling, his lips spasm, but he is not fool enough to open his mouth. When she exits, her body shaking but her shoulders back, the room breathes as one, as if it had all been holding its breath. And then there's Meri, moving slowly, her face pale, her posture rigid as if she's holding against the burden of her own truth. As she testifies, her voice is empty, far away. I was first. I thought I'd be alone. I thought I believed in him when nobody else did. And what did that get me? Years of loneliness. Years of silence. The years of being told I wasn't enough. Her voice shakes, her lips shaking, but she finds the strength to carry on. I gave him everything, and he gave me shame and emptiness. He replaced me while I was still there, and he made me watch. He made me think that was love. The gallery is silent, some wiping away tears, others shaking their heads in disbelief, as Meri continues, I disappeared. I became a ghost in my own house. And I let that happen because I hoped one day he might see me again. But he never saw me. Her tears finally fall, her voice cracking. He erased me piece by piece until I didn't know myself. And the world saw that we were a family, but behind closed doors. I was already deceased. Court is choked with despair, each eye on Meri, even the judge fidgeting in his chair, the humanity of her sorrow too intense to be ignored. She addresses Kody, her voice a whisper but lethal. You killed us before this courtroom. You killed me years ago before anyone ever laid eyes on it. Kody's face twists, anger and humiliation warring across his features, but Meri averts her gaze, descending with her shoulders slumped, the hurt still streaming through the silence that remains behind her. The judge asks for order, but nobody stirs, all of them too shocked by the landslide of truth that just crashed into the air. Then there is Robyn, and the room changes. Her footfalls are uncertain, her tears already streaming, her whole body shaking as she approaches the stand. The gallery leans in, tensed, because Robyn's voice has always been contentious, always doubted. She takes the oath, her voice trembling. I loved him. I loved him with all that I had. I believed he was my soulmate. I believed God sent him to me. But now, I don't know what to believe anymore. Her weeping is frenzied, racking her body, but she makes herself tell the truth. I didn't know about the money. I didn't know about the woman. I believed every word he said. I stood up for him when the rest deserted him, I remained beside him when nobody else would, and now I'm the fool. She speaks louder, with tears choking her. Do you know how it feels to know that the man to whom you gave everything may never have existed who you thought he was? The jury observes, some empathetic, others cynical, and the wives observe in silence, their expressions unread. Robyn goes on, her words spilling. I struggled for him. I sacrificed myself trying to be the perfect wife, and now I realize perhaps I was just another pawn. Perhaps I was not the beloved. Perhaps I was the reason. She breaks into racking sobs, unable to go on, the attorney politely asking no more questions. Robyn descends, aided by a bailiff, her body convulsing with sobs, her face a map of devastation. The room is heavy, each sentence from each of the wives ringing out like thunder after the storm. Kody remains pale, sweating profusely, his eyes flicking around at the wives, his lips shuddering, his body slumping into the chair as if the weight of their reality is suffocating him. The judge coughs, his tone crisp. This court has heard sufficient testimony for today. Closing arguments will resume tomorrow morning. But just as he is about to adjourn, Christine jumps to her feet, her tone abrasive and quivering. No! Not yet. There's something else this court needs to hear. Gasps spread, Janelle turns to her in shock, Meri freezes, Robyn looks up through her tears, and Kody goes stiff, his eyes wide with fear, his lips whispering, Don't you dare! Christine's eyes flaring with fire, her voice piercing the tension like lightning. It's time the world knew the secret he vowed I'd never speak. The courtroom explodes, the judge slamming the gavel, reporters standing up, the jury agog, and Kody yelling, Christine, no! The gavel crashes again and again as the judge attempts to regain order, but the courtroom has been thrown into pandemonium following Christine's abrupt announcement, her face a blaze of fury and terror as she rises with shaking hands on the arm of her chair, her voice ringing out above the din. I vowed I would never speak, I vowed because he made me think secrecy was safer, but I can no longer bear it, not when the truth will finally set us free. Janelle gasps, her hand leaping to her mouth. Meri sits wide-eyed, petrified in shock. Robyn shudders her head wildly as though pleading with Christine not to continue, and Kody's face contorts into stark horror, his hand thudding on the table as he bellows, Stop! Christine, I command you to remain silent. But the judge bangs his gavel down harder, his voice bellowing, Mr. Brown, you are not commanding this courtroom. Sit down or be held in contempt. The gallery is on its feet, reporters shoving forward, cameras snapping wildly, the jury leaning forward with wide, aghast eyes, and Christine turning at last, her voice cracking as she points at Kody. He lied to all of us, not just about the money, not just about the other women, but about who he really is, what he was doing behind closed doors while we suffered. Gasps spread through the room, and Kody's face goes white as he shakes his head wildly, muttering, No, 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 she can't. But Christine keeps going, her voice shattering with years of pent-up pain. He made us think we were his family, that we were his wives, but he had another life, another family, one we never even knew about. The whole courtroom appears to lock up, a hush so profound it seems the air has been drawn from the room, and then Christine's words slice like razors. Another wife. Another group of children. Secret. Kept on the down low. While we wore ourselves out thinking we were creating something holy, He lived another life in the shadows. The gallery erupts into shouts, reporters almost tumbling over one another as they scramble to record the shock. The jury members twisting their faces with amazement, gasping aloud some, scribbling furiously others as Kody springs to his feet, his face red, his voice a bellow. Lies! All lies. She's inventing this, she's resentful, she's jealous, she wants to kill me because she couldn't keep me. But Christine moves closer to the jury, crying uncontrollably, shaking her head but unyielding voice. He told me once in a flash of pride, when he thought I would never give him away and I kept it inside, I swallowed it because I believed maybe I was mistaken, maybe he was bluffing, but then I saw the evidence, pictures, messages, invoices. He was not only ours. He never was. Court is pandemonium, bailiffs struggling to maintain order in the gallery, the judge banging the gavel until his hand trembles, but the shock will not be contained, it leaks into every corner of the room, into every lens on every TV transmitting this trial to the world. Janelle falls back into her chair, her face white with heartbreak, whispering, "Oh my God, all these years!" Meri weeps silently, her face broken, and Robyn sobs freely, shaking her head as if her whole world has fallen apart. Kody points a shaking finger at Christine, his voice breaking with desperation. "You don't know what you're talking about, you're twisting everything, this is all lies, I can explain." But the judge finally bangs, "Enough! Mr. Brown, sit down now." Kody sinks back into his seat, his face a mask of anger and fear, his chest heaving furiously, sweat dripping down his temples. Christine blots her tears, her voice quivering but firm. "This is the truth he never wanted out. He manipulated us, used us, drained us while he constructed a new life in secrecy. That's the kind of man he is. That's the man you're judging today." The silence that follows is suffocating, the weight of her revelation pressing down on every soul in the room. The lawyer clears his throat, his voice solemn. "Your Honor, I think this testimony says a lot about the character and credibility of the defendant." The judge nods seriously, his face impassive as he glances over toward the jury. "This court will stand by the testimony. The jury will take it into consideration." The wives sit in stunned silence, the gallery buzzing in hushed whispers, and Kody leans forward, his voice a low hiss no microphone can hide. "You've destroyed me, Christine, and I'll never forgive you." But Christine does not flinch, her eyes burning with a strength that finally feels like freedom. The judge finally brings the court to order, his tone firm but somber. "This has been one of the most emotionally charged trials that I have had the privilege to preside over. The testimonies we've heard strike at the heart of family, faith, trust, and betrayal. But now, closing arguments time." The lawyers rise, each side arguing, prosecution portraying Kody as a manipulator, a man who used religion and love as instruments, who deceived not just his wives but the very structure of the family he professed to create, and the defense desperately portraying him as mistaken, as a man caught by the expectations of polygamy, as someone imperfect but not evil. The jury are listening, but their features are unrevealing, their faces guarded as the prospect of their decision hangs in the air. At last, the judge instructs them and sends them to discuss, the whole courtroom breathing in unison as the jury file out, the wives sitting mute, their faces masks of fatigue and horror, and Kody slouched low, his eyes frantic, his lips whispering silent prayers. Hours drag on, the gallery abuzz with rumor, reporters flashing in their reports, the air heavy with tension, until at last the jury emerges, their faces somber, their pace reluctant, their silence more ominous than any shout. The foreperson rises, the piece of paper in his or her hand that will make all the difference, and the judge inquires, "Have you reached a verdict?" The foreperson nods, his voice firm, "We have, Your Honor." Courtroom is holding its breath, every heart racing, every eye on the piece of paper as it's passed to the judge. He reads it in silence, his face stern, his jaw clenching, then returns it. The foreperson clears her throat and continues, reading aloud. "On the counts of financial deception, emotional abuse, and fraudulent concealment, we, the jury, find the defendant Kody Brown." The room leans in expectation, all forward, breath held in throats, Meri holding onto the table edge, Janelle holding Christine's hand, Robyn uncontrollably sobbing, and Kody sitting paralyzed, his face the color of death. The foreperson's voice slices through the silence like a knife. "Guilty on all counts." The courtroom explodes, gasps, screams, reporters yelling questions. the gallery a tempest of sound, and Kody pounds his fists down on the table, yelling, "No! This isn't justice, this is a witch hunt undefined, you can't do this to me." Bailiffs hurry to hold him back as he lashes out wildly, his face contorted with fury, his voice ringing out, "You'll pay for this, undefined. All of you undefined, you have no idea what you've done, undefined." The wives break down and weep, some of relief, others of despair, the gallery erupting in cries, and the judge's gavel comes crashing down repeatedly. "Order, undefined, order in the court, undefined." At last his voice resounds, "Mr. Undefined Brown, you have been found guilty on all charges. Sentencing will be handed down tomorrow morning." Tomorrow. Undefined, the word lingers in the air, a threat, a promise, a last chapter yet to come. The wives huddle together, shattered but held by survival, their faces smeared with tears but their eyes at last bearing the burden of freedom, as Kody is borne away screaming, his voice ringing in the chamber, "This isn't over, undefined, you haven't seen the end of me." And while the cameras flash, the reporters yell, and the world waits with bated breath, the session concludes not in relief but in terror, for tomorrow will be the day of final judgment, and no one yet knows how far Kody's secrets really reach.